Alright, alright, alright. This is what it looks like after it's been semi-completely torn down. We're gonna get a overview look at it. So I did a lot of cleaning on this, got a lot of the grease out of the way, and the parts for this are all right here. And while this might look like a mess to you that I might not know how to put back together, that I was wrong because I took pictures. Every time I took a part out, I took a picture of what it looked like before with all the nuts and bolts. So the bolts, as you can see, and a lot of the things that I do is I put them back right after I've taken them out. So that way I'll know where they will go back in again. This here flywheel will not turn at all whatsoever, even if I put pressure on it. It's not turning. So what that tells me is that somewhere inside this engine there's something that is seized up. Now I had seen a lot of rust that is in this, and I had to this red cover right here. That red cover had a lot of gunk on the bottom of it, which is would have been sitting like right here. So if this had in fact been sitting in the rain, which it does look like it has, what that tells me, if there is any water in here, then it's probably inside seizing everything. Now, you see this here valve? When I looked into the top right here, you can see two metal rods that are like right there. I don't know if you can see them, but there's two metal rods that are right there. Somebody took this apart and just gave up and put those two metal rods there. If I find that problem on this side of the cylinder, I can find that problem on that side of the cylinder. Holy effing crap. This is going to be an interesting rebuild. So, yeah. I don't know if the starter works. I'm going to have to try it out eventually, but I'm just giving you guys a general overview of what it looks like. And there is water damage inside that part right there. So there is water damage also on this one too, on the intake. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of water damage inside the cylinders and whatnot for whoever tried to work on this and did not successfully complete it. Therefore, I'm going to be the one completing it. This here is the exhaust. This is the exhaust. That's the exhaust. That is the muffler right there. Oil filter and blah blah blah. So this here cover comes off. I took it off. A lot of electrical components in there that are also rusted and corroded. Like I said, I'm going to have to replace a lot of the parts in here. But that will be all for now. Okay, so after getting the cylinder head off, this is what the cylinder head looks like after I took it off and put it onto here. And you remember I was talking about those two rods? Well, here they are. They're just sticking out as I took them out. After looking at this carefully, there was no gasket whatsoever right here. Anywhere. So whoever tried to do this did not put the gasket in. When you look at the cylinder, there's just a little bit of debris, but you look at the top of the piston, no debris. That's pretty good. So, I can't remember which was the exhaust. This is the exhaust, this is the intake, this is the exhaust. There's a little bit of carpeting around the exhaust part. The spark plug hole is right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over for you to look at the other side. So this spring here, the intake, it does go down when you look at it, but this one does not. The spring compresses, but this push rod does not go down. This is what the cylinder head looks like after you have gotten it taken apart, disassembled. What I'm going to do now, well, I'm going to put the bolts back into here so I know what's what. But just looking at the cylinder bore, the sleeve, we see that there is no scoring whatsoever. And therefore, that tells me that the inside of this cylinder is good. But for some reason, it is seized up and this is not turning still. So I might have to take the flywheel off completely. I gotta go get a part to take that freaking nut off. Once I get that flywheel off completely and everything taken out, then I should be able to turn it. Hopefully I can turn it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to clean up all these parts. And I'm just going to mess around with everything, get it all cleaned up and get this piston cleaned. I'm going to try to... Oh, gaskets. You know what? I have a gasket material that I went and bought from Canadian Tire. It's this stuff here. You can buy this at Canadian Tire. It's you can make your own gaskets. They're just 4-part material. There's cork, there's water, there's rubber. This is like what, $7 at Canadian Tire. You can just cut your own material out there and just make gaskets. So that's what I'm gonna do for this part of the cylinder right now. And then I'm gonna do that for this right here. That's the gasket too. That's supposed to be there. There's also gaskets on the exhaust. So there's one right here for the exhaust on both of the exhausts. We'll trace them out and put brand new ones in. For the intake, where's the intake? The intake, there is gaskets there too, so I will take those out and I will trace them over and I will replace I will replace them too. So I will get to work on that right now. Alright, so we got the flywheel off. This is the flywheel that I just took off with the puller. As you can see, there is some chipping on that magnet and that magnet only. When I look at everything else, I clean this up a little bit to make it less cobweb and spider webs and all that crap. When you look at the front here, this is the ignition coil. There's the starter. In order for me to get the starter off, I need to take off this here plate. In order to take this off, I need to take this off first. So 1, 2, 3, that comes off. And then I will turn this entire thing around and I will then look at this part of the cylinder head. So that's what's going to be happening right now in a few minutes. I just cleaned this up a little bit because it was full of cobwebs and whatnot, but you can have a general idea of what it looks like. The pin is right there. This is the pin. This goes right here. Just like that. So when you look at the other part of the engine, what it is that I had taken apart, a majority of it is stripped, and there is the parts, and these parts are now all cleaned up. They're nice, bright and shiny. I had used a lot of cleaner on them. So once I get those 3 things off, then I'm going to flip it and start working on that side. So that's it for now. Okay, so here it's flipped. The engine is flipped on the other way so I can access that a lot better. And as before, those 2 rods are right there. Somebody went and did the exact same thing on this side. So that means I gotta take this apart, I gotta get those out, and I gotta look at the cylinder, and I am just wondering what's behind here now. So I gotta get this apart too. I took the cover off, I took the starter out. Starter is right here, I shined it up, I wiped it down. I don't know if it starts, I'm gonna have to try that out. But here is the oil filter outlet, the muffler, the exhaust. And we're looking at the other end of the engine. We have. So that'll be it for now. Alright, so now that the cylinder head is off on the left side, as before on the other side, there is no gasket whatsoever on here. These are the two rods that were sticking out. And I don't know if you can see it too well, but that cylinder is a bit carbonated on the top. The cylinder bore itself is really smooth. There's just a little bit of rust on the outside. So I can clean that up a little bit. I'll get rid of that carbonate. I'll clean up the face of this. When I look at the rest of it, it looks fine. When I look at the other side, this is the exhaust. But 54% are concerned. Those two springs bounce up and down. I just pressed on both of them. They do bounce up and down nicely. I'll clean those up a little bit nicer too. I'll put a new gasket to replace that one. I'll have to trace the new gaskets to place this. I'll put a new gasket in for the exhaust. And then the rest of the stripping happens. That's it. Okay, so I just found a solution to a problem that I was just having a while ago, and that was separating the motor from the engine. So I started undoing these bolts here, and I found the problem that these ones here are not coming out because they're rubbing against that. But once I got these ones out, they were really long ones. These ones here are just one. It was stuck. Like there's so much rust and stuff that was seized in between here that it just occurred to me, what if I took a hammer and just gave it a tap, like bang, and then here, bang, and did it on all four corners until it loosened, and then I took a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, stuck it in that crack, and then wiggled it like so what happened is I got this part here. So what happens now is I just take this motor and I start, you know, back and forth till it comes out and pull it out, and that should work. That's what I'm going to do. These here are pins that are used on all four corners to keep it into place directly exactly. So I'm going to work on that right now, and what I'm also trying to do is I'm trying to get this separate from this here. So I'm thinking these two here are one unit, but we'll see what it looks like on the inside if there's anything bolted. But yeah, this son of a bitchin' motor is so extremely friggin' heavy, it is unbelievable. That's a major problem of lifting that up to there. So I'm gonna work on that right now. Here we got it taken apart just exactly as I said it was gonna. It would just bang it a little bit. So when you look at this part here, you can see that there's so much son of a bitch and rust on this thing that it was not going to come out with any light force. Now when you look at this here, well, look at that. You see that inside there? It is corroded as hell. I would like to say that it's worth the fight, but in the end it might actually not be worth the fight. But then again, I am always optimistic because I like trying to get things to work regardless. So if this doesn't work, then I will just put my hands up and say it's failure. However, I'm going to do my best to do my best. That's to clean up the rust. I will say that I did turn this part here. I went and turned it, and the pistons were going up and down. So here, I'm just gonna situate this a little bit better. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this, and you're gonna see the pistons go up and down. So here we go. You see that? So what that tells me is there is nothing wrong with the interior components of this engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those bolts back in, and I'm just going to leave it. Leave it. Don't touch it. Don't break it. I'm going to put the gaskets in just like I said. I'm going to look and see if I can get this thing off here and clean that rust off. Maybe, just maybe, on the long shot, I could salvage it, but I'm not sure. So this is a perfect example of what happens when you leave your stuff out in the rain and you do not look after it. It rusts out and nothing works, nothing turns, nothing happens, nothing, whatever. So this part here, this surface right here, was rubbing against this surface right here. And they were rusted, they were fused together, which is why it was not turning. And I do not think by any means at all whatsoever it was going to work or it was going to produce electricity, even if it was turning. The engine would have worked, but this part here is the reason why it was not turning over. So that is my analysis. I'm going to put those freaking bolts back on. And then I'm going to go get some cleaning products, and then I'm just going to brush the hell out of everything here. There's water damage a lot. Yeah, so let this be a lesson to all of you, how to look after your tools, your equipment. Do not let it stand out in the rain. I just happen to be in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, so we get salt water in our air, which does not help this at all. So, there's not a whole lot else that I can show you. I'm just going to keep doing pans of everything just so you guys have an idea of what everything looks like. So yeah, oh, I'm gonna have a heyday with this one. That'll be all for now. Alright, so it is confirmed that the electrical motor part of this generator is the problem. That's rusted out all to hell. I've got this soaking in CLR on the sponges, and this here is being soaked and rinsed out as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the pistons, absolutely whatsoever. All these things are being cleaned as I sit here, and yeah, so when it comes to the electrical part, I might just have to replace this entire thing right here. Which may or may not be that big of a deal, but who knows? I now got to look into that. So that is what I will be doing soon.